What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Double Move channel. In today's video, I wanted to talk about Christian Parker, the Cowboys' new defensive coordinator, and his press conference that he had yesterday with Brian Schottenheimer. I do not want to waste a ton of time, so let us go ahead and get into it. When I sat down yesterday and watched the press conference along with a lot of you, I noticed that press conference has quite a bit of views on YouTube. People are obviously interested in hearing what the new defensive coordinator has to say, and that is why I wanted to break it down for you. I came away with 5 things that really stood out to me. We are going to go down the list, and then, like always, you guys can leave your opinions and thoughts down below in the comments. Did you like the press conference? Did you like how Christian Parker was talking about football? Because I certainly did. Let me tell you why. Number 1 is his scheme philosophy and flexibility. He clearly stated very early on in this conference, like maybe in the first minute or two, that this defense will have a base 3-4 structure with plenty of variance. That means shifting into 4-3 looks and nickel fronts and all of that stuff based on the situation and the opponent that the Cowboys are playing. This is coming from that Vic Fangio adjacent system. And I call it adjacent because it is not going to be just like Fangio. Some things are going to stick and some things are going to be different. But I know that we are going to see more of those odd fronts, more 4-eye alignments like Schottenheimer and Christian Parker were talking about. That is something I have talked about quite a bit with a particular player in this upcoming draft class that fits that bill. A guy that played a lot of 4-eye in college. That is a conversation for another day. We are also going to see more two-gapping from the defensive linemen. More simulated pressures for real this time. We heard all of that talk with Matt Eberflus, and they did not end up doing any of it. But Christian Parker shared that they were going to be structurally a 3-4 defense in the first 2 seconds of the press conference. I am glad that he answered that question right away, because now we can start looking at players that match some of the things they might be looking for in free agency and the draft. He also made it clear there is still going to be variance. They will be working to the player's strengths. It is not going to be just one solid scheme every single week. That is music to my ears, and it probably is to yours too. Getting away from a defense that has these super rigid schemes and moving towards something that can actually change based on who you are playing is really different from what we saw last year. I am going to try not to go back and harp on Matt Eberflus and what we saw in 2025, but it is really hard not to because they were so bad. We are all trying to figure out, how are they going to get better? What keeps it from looking like 2025 again? That is why I am so excited about this press conference, because Christian Parker was pointing out the things that we talked about every single week last year. He said it himself. If the opponent has an issue picking up blitzes at the running back spot, they are going to blitz more. They are going to attack weaknesses. That feels very similar to Schottenheimer's press conference last year when he got hired as the head coach and was talking about the offense having more motion and more eye candy and multiple plays out of the same sets, being multiple on offense. I thought they did a really good job of executing that vision. Going into this hiring process, they did this long, extensive search, figuring out who are some of the up-and-coming minds. Who are the guys that can help us get a schematic advantage? They talked to a ton of different positional coaches and defensive coordinators. On the podium yesterday, Christian Parker talked like a guy that understood how to give this team a schematic advantage. Number 2 was the player-first defense philosophy. He repeatedly emphasized scheming around the strengths of the players rather than forcing them into this default defense. That is, again, what it felt like last year under Eberflus. It was, we are going to do it this way, and any player that has input, like Trevin Diggs did it, just kind of got pushed to the wayside, or maybe they did it for the first 10 plays of the game and then it fell off and they reverted back to what they were doing. It needs to be schemed towards your players. Those are the guys out there on the field. It just gives you a better chance against a team that you are probably facing that is using their players to their strengths. Parker talked about having man coverage corners and playing more man if they fit that system. more blitzing if the pass rush allows it, generally letting the talent dictate the structure of the defense. It is really sometimes as simple as putting your players in a position to be successful. That concept seemed completely foreign last year. Takeaway number 3 is that he constantly prioritized the fundamentals. This team was not good at the fundamentals last year. He circled back to 2 non-negotiables that they were going to have on defense. Stop the run and affect the quarterback. On fundamentals, it was gap integrity and tackling and winning first and second down and controlling the line of scrimmage. We talked about that ad nauseum every single week on our channel last year. Remember that Carolina game? The gap integrity was terrible. Everybody was getting washed out of their gap. You had your edges getting manhandled by tight ends. They were not tackling well. They were not winning on first and second down. Constantly giving up 5, 6, 7, 8 yards on first down, and then 4 yards on second down, and then first down, and reset the chains. They were just never able to get ahead of the sticks. I am glad that he talked about the fundamentals and doing the small things right. Good teams do the little things right. Just like on offense, you do not put the ball on the ground. It sounds really simple. Do not fumble. But how are you holding the ball? How is your vision? Do you feel the guy coming up with a peanut punch? Same thing on the defensive side of the ball. Are you in the spot that you need to be? Are you keeping gap integrity? Are you not playing hero football? Are you tackling well and trying to stay ahead of the sticks? I am really glad that he focused on that, because those are the things that separate good defenses from bad ones. Before I get to number 4, I want to give a quick shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring this video. Football season has ended, but that does not mean the fun has stopped. They are still the best daily fantasy sports app on the market, and all the fun has just started for the NBA season. MLB will be here soon. Every single sport that you can imagine is available on Sleeper. They have just recently launched Team Picks, where you can choose winners of each game. You can take the Dallas Mavericks to beat the Phoenix Suns or the other way around. Whatever your sport is, while football is not on, you can play Sleeper. Use code DOUBLEMOVE and get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Thank you again to Sleeper for sponsoring the channel all football season long. They have really helped support us here at Double Move, and we really appreciate it. Now let us continue with takeaway number 4. This was the one that Schottenheimer harped on when talking about looking for a defensive coordinator. Jerry talked about it. Steven talked about it. The teaching, the communication, and the culture. Parker talked a lot about his teaching philosophy with clear communication and adapting what he is doing to different players. Not every guy is going to absorb information the same way. He had an example where he was talking about sometimes you just got to let a player get burned in a controlled environment. You might tell them something like, hey, this is not going to work, but they have to get beat on a rep or not be in the spot that they need to be and give up a big play to understand why you are teaching them that way. Some guys need that kind of hands-on learning. Other guys just need more film study or need to take tests and be taught in a one-on-one setting. Everybody is different, and I feel like some of these younger coaches are really understanding that concept. I obviously do not coach in the NFL or really any level. Maybe I could start my own Pee Wee football team, but I thought it was hilarious when he was talking about what you could do in the study room when you are sitting down with the defense. And he said, Kahoot. When I was in high school, if you are around my age, Kahoot was my high school teacher's absolute go-to when we were studying for tests or whatever. It just brought back so many memories. For those of you that do not know what Kahoot is, it is pretty much a website where you can put up questions and the class gets on their phones or laptops and they answer it. When everybody answers the question, it gives you a percentage of the class that got it right and a percentage that got it wrong. It is just a way to give the teacher or the instructor a good idea of how many people are getting it and how many are not. When he said that, I was like, okay, this guy actually is thinking like a teacher. It plays so well into the teaching aspect of his job. you could put questions up about just the scheme or the spacing or technique. It really gives him a chance to see everybody as a group, because at the end of the day, they are playing as a defensive unit. You just have to be excited because he is not just a play caller, but a teacher and a communicator and a player and scheme developer. That is exactly what this defense needs after last year. My final takeaway from this press conference is that Schottenheimer said this is the same process that they had with Clayton Adams. He said he appreciated Jerry and Steven for hanging with him throughout the process. That means what we kind of already knew, but this really solidifies it. This was Schotty's hire from day one. There was no Steven and no Jerry at the podium. Neither of those guys were up there. It was just Christian Parker and Brian Schottenheimer sharing their football knowledge and their excitement that he was the new defensive coordinator. It is a lot better to me, and I think it is why Cowboys fans are so happy with how this went. Jerry was not up there just throwing around word salads trying to get an ESPN headline. I really, really liked it. I have liked the entire process, the hiring process, the press conference, the things that they talked about yesterday. All of it has been awesome. Obviously, we need to see it happen on the football field because everybody can get up there and talk a big game. But it makes me feel better because Brian Schottenheimer got up there last year talking about the offense and said everything that we wanted to hear. They came out and had one of the best offenses in the league. Defensively, we heard how extensive this process was, how up-to-date and with the times Christian Parker is. I am not going to doubt them that they are going to do a lot of the things that they say they are. For a team that was dead last in nearly every single statistical category last year, this is all you can hope for. This is it. Christian Parker seems like way more than a competent, smart teacher and scheme guy. He just says all the right things. His demeanor is perfect. I could not be happier with this hire. Schottenheimer does not look like he could be any happier with this hire either. So we will see what happens in free agency and the draft and where this defense ultimately is able to go in 2026. I want you guys to leave your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. I really appreciate you for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. The next video will probably be another player breakdown, a really fun one I got to talk to you guys about. I love you all, and I will see you next time.